Good morning. This is going to be the final and conclusive endgame build guide video for the Essence Drain Contagion Lich League starter that I've now been playing in the current Abyssal League of PoE2's early access for almost exactly 1 week now. The character is now in a stage where I would say this is pretty close to the complete and min-maxed endgame version. Of course, there is still always some room to grow, especially with the new exceptional base items and some other insane possibilities in terms of gear. But at this stage, this build is already easily destroying all content the game currently has to offer. T4 pinnacle bosses like Zesht, Oroth, and King in the Mist are dead within seconds, and even T4 Simulacrum is now incredibly trivial on this build. When 0.3 released, I honestly couldn't have imagined how good this build will turn out. So many things about this in the current patch have made this probably one of the most enjoyable builds I have so far played in PoE2, and I will most likely come back to this build a lot in the current and maybe even future leagues. In 0.2, the two biggest downsides to this build were single target damage scaling and overall speed and mobility. Both of these downsides have been almost completely alleviated in this patch, so this is now, in my opinion, one of the best all-rounder builds in the game, while also being pretty budget-friendly on the lower end. All the build versions in the Mobalytics have been updated. If you have any questions about the guide or the build in general, I am streaming PoE2 every single day on my Twitch channel, and I will most likely still be on this build for the foreseeable future. So let's go into everything about this Essence Drain Contagion Lich. So let's start off by going over everything on the character sheet for this build. I am now a level 96 Lich, which is, in my opinion, basically all you need in terms of the passive tree, but we will go over the passive tree in a later stage of this video, of course. So going over the passive tree, we have 1,900 life, we have over 10,000 energy shield. We are also running 158 spirit right now. I will go over all the skill gems and what will be needed in terms of spirit in a later stage of this video as well, in the skill gems section. And we, of course, are fire res capped, we are cold res capped, we are lightning res capped, and also chaos res capped. The way this build plays, it is incredibly tanky, while also now being able to dish out insane amounts of damage. Like I already said in the intro of this video, this build has only gotten better in terms of damage when it came to this league right here. So we are still very tanky, over 10,000 energy shield. We have a energy shield recharge delay of almost exactly only 1 second, and we recharge energy shield of 2,300 per second. So even when I permacast with Eldritch Empowerment, you can see how fast our energy shield just comes back. It is basically impossible to die on this build right now. The amount of times I've died while mapping and doing pinnacle bosses in the last few days is very low. I think I died like 2 times maybe in the last 3 days while playing like 8-9 hours every day. So this build incredibly tanky. Why is this build so tanky as well? It's not only due to our high energy shield and our very good energy shield recharge and slow or fast, in this case, recharge delay here. We also make use of the Eternal Life Node in the Lich Ascendancy here. So we can see Soulless Form here. We have 10% of damage taken bypasses energy shield. And then we have the Eternal Life Notable here. So if we have energy shield in this case, we are always going to have a bypass of this energy shield in terms of damage. And since we have Eternal Life, our life cannot change. So anything that bypasses our energy shield in terms of damage will not be damage to us at all. So this is a 10% damage reduction. Another damage reduction in this build is the core unique of Edziri's Disdain here, because Edziri's Disdain again has a 10% of damage taken bypasses energy shield. In my case, I have a corrupted Edziri's here with 12%. So that is already 22% damage reduction. Another thing we have is on the passive tree, we have heavy buffer. This gives us maximum energy shield, but also 5% more damage taken bypasses energy shield. So if you can do the math, and I can do it as well, 29% damage taken less. So anything that hits us in the game before resistances apply, before our energy shield applies, before anything applies, 29% damage reduction. This build is, in my opinion, one of the, if not maybe the tankiest build in the game, while now in point 3 also being able to dish out insane amounts of damage. In the Mobalytics guide, there are also multiple different versions. The version that I am running right now is the low life version, and I will show in a later stage of this video how to get to the low life and basically lock it in place. The low life version here is because of 2 different nodes on the passive tree. We have Final Barrage here on the passive tree, 20% cast speed when on low life. And also we have this node on the passive tree right here, the quick response one with 30% faster start to energy shield recharge when not on full life. Another reason why the low life version is incredibly good is the Execute 2 node and the Execute 3 support gem on Dark Effigy here. So 30% more damage with hits while you are on low life, and 30% more damage with hits against enemies that are low life. So just a 30% damage increase for Dark Effigy here, which is one of the biggest things in terms of single target damage in this build. And also, like for clear, Dark Effigy is actually an insanely amazing tool and a huge part of our damage in this build. So Execute 3 just simply amazing on Dark Effigy here. Another reason why the low life version is so good now is because in 0.3 we now have the rune Tekrod's Gaze. So Tekrod's Gaze gives us 10% increased movement speed on our boots when on low life. So we now have just 10% more energy shield, more movement speed at all times just because of Tekrod's Gaze. This is just even better on boots like these with 100% increased effect of socketed items. So 20% more movement speed on our boots, which makes our boots here 55% energy shield. You can imagine here, if you have boots with 3 sockets and 100% increased effect, you can have 1 Tekrod's Gaze and then 2 more wounds with 5% movement speed each. That is going to be absolutely insane. It will mean we have, it is going to be 20 and 20 again, and that is going to make our boots 75% movement speed. So this build can also be very, very fast now in terms of mobility. Yeah, everything about this build is just amazing now. The low life version is the one that I definitely advise you to go if you have the gear already. I have had the question many times in my stream. People asking, when should you go to the low life version? And I always say, you should be around at level 84, 85. You should be ready for it. You need very good energy shield of at least like 7,000 to 8,000. And then you also need a good energy shield recharge delay and a good energy shield recharge per second. Because the reason why you want to have very good gear to go to the low life version is because every time you lose your energy shield, basically you will maybe die in most cases, and also you always have to do the low life trick again, which I will show in the video here as well. So that is a reason why I always think you should only go the low life version when you absolutely feel ready for it and when you are at a stage where you will not die basically in maps. So that is the low life version. If you are ready for any other version, on the Mobalytics there is a version for campaign, so you can take this build from level 1 right into endgame. I have a version for when you go into early maps as well. So basically a budget version for the early mapping part. And then I have the endgame full life version and the endgame low life version. So check out the Mobalytics in terms of that for all the different versions. Next thing I will go over is the skill gems. Going over the skill gems, let's start with the Chaos Bolt. We absolutely need a Chaos Bolt in this build for our single target damage, so a Withered Wand is always the best one to go. It is an absolute must to have a Withered Wand here, because in the 0.3 patch they introduced that the Chaos Bolt now applies Withered 2. It also deals some very nice damage, but mainly we use Chaos Bolt to apply Withered stacks. To apply even more Withered stacks and to have the chance to inflict Withered exceed 100%, we are running Chaos Bolt with Withering Touch here. We also are running Rapid Casting to just have faster cast speed while casting the Chaos Bolts. You can see it's just gonna be super fast to apply. We just need 3-4 shots and the Withered stacks are gonna be at maximum. So Rapid Casting 2, we also have Chaos Mastery to get a extra point on the Chaos Bolt in terms of levels. And also we are using Extraction. Apparently Extraction works. Usually this interaction when we have to lose life or have to sacrifice life, it doesn't really work on the Lich with Eternal Life. But in this case, it does increase our damage on Chaos Bolt. So again, Chaos Bolt, Rapid Casting 2, Chaos Mastery, Extraction, and Withering Touch. Our main damage tool in most cases is, of course, Essence Drain. We are running Essence Drain again with Chaos Mastery. We are also running Zenith for more damage when we are high mana. We also run Swift Affliction 2. We run Deliberation and Considered Casting. This is the setup for single target damage, and you can see I have a chaos damage per second of 81,000 here in the single target setup. So this is all just pure damage for a single target. For the mapping setup, I am currently using Sion's Temper for Considered Casting, and I'm also using Chain instead of Deliberation. This makes it so that our Essence Drain is shooting out wild shards at all times, and it kind of looks cool. That's one of the main reasons I'm using this while mapping. We don't really need the extra damage while mapping. We just apply so many Essence Drain with Sion's Temper to all the enemies around us. It is super, super nice. We basically only have to cast a Contagion, and then we just cast some Essence Drain, and they just shoot around us, and Sion's Temper is just amazing for this. And also Chain, when we actually hit a mob with our Essence Drain, it will also chain to more enemies. It just removes a lot of the Essence Drain extra casting that we usually need. So we just go Contagion, and then Essence Drain, and then we get a bunch of wild shards as well. So again, Essence Drain, Chaos Mastery for extra level, Zenith for some extra damage while high on mana, Swift Affliction 2, pretty much a given for both, and then for mapping Chain 2 and Sion's Temper, and for single target bossing, Deliberation instead of Chain, and Considered Casting instead of Sion's Temper. Contagion is the main reason why everything spreads so well. I am currently using a Contagion that is high level. You can also, if you feel like your mana, you can see how much mana Contagion costs when it's this high level. The other thing you can do here is you can go a level 1 Contagion or a very low level Contagion. What I am doing right here is use a high level Contagion and then use Arcane Surge. So you can see Arcane Surge is already active, and I'm gonna let it run out here. When we cast Contagion, I think it's 3 or 4 times here. 1, 2, no, it's just 2 times, and then we already get Arcane Surge, which gives us even more mana regeneration and cast speed. But if you feel like it is too much mana on the Contagion cast, use a lower level Contagion, and that is fine as well. The damage on Contagion does not matter. You do not deal most damage with Contagion. You deal damage with Dark Effigy and Essence Drain. The Contagion damage does not matter. But if you use a high level one, you can use Arcane Surge. What we use on Contagion is Unleash. We use Magnified Area 2, we use Rapid Casting 2, and Chaotic Freeze, and also, like I said, Arcane Surge. Next thing is going to be Blasphemy. So Blasphemy takes 60 Spirit. That is our first Spirit. Very, very important. If you quality up Blasphemy, it is just 55 Spirit. So that is how we only need 155 Spirit for this build as it currently stands. So Blasphemy, always quality it up, and it will only cost you 55 Spirit. Another very important thing is you have to be able to actually curse the enemies, because another change in 0.3 was that low-level curses do not apply to high-level monsters anymore. So make sure your Blasphemy is as high as it can be, and also your Temporal Chains is as high as it can be. Otherwise, it will not apply to the high-level monsters in Endgame. So Blasphemy with Temporal Chains, slow potency to get more slow magnitude, and then Magnified Area, because a lot of people don't know this. Blasphemy is not presence area. Blasphemy and the Temporal Chains we have is not going to be based on our presence area, but it is area of effect. So Magnified Area increases the area of Temporal Chains, and Ritualistic Curse, you can see supported skills have 50% increased area of effect. Another reason why the Temporal Chains basically covers our whole screen now. So I explained this in another video already, and I kind of showed it off a little bit. When you go into a map, or when you're, for example, in a simulacrum or whatever, all the mobs around us basically on our full screen are slowed by more than 40%, which is an insanely good defensive layer on an already very, very tanky build. So this is very, very important. This is also a reason why we use this node on the passive tree. So Zone of Control, again, increased area of effect and magnitude of curses. And also we use Master of Hexes with even more curse magnitude to not only have our Despair with a higher magnitude, but also the Temporal Chains. So all the mobs around us are just going to be slowed into oblivion. Nothing can really hit us. And even if it does, we are so tanky that we can take a few hits on top. Another huge damage dealer for this build is going to be Dark Effigy here. Dark Effigy, we are using Controlled Destruction, just 25% more damage. Urgent Totems 3, I really like this. You can also go with another damage thing here to even have more damage. I always think that Urgent Totems is very, very nice because having a fast placement speed just makes the build feel much, much better. And especially while mapping and whatever, you can just place the Dark Effigies while running, basically. But also in boss fight, it feels very, very good that you can just place your 3 Dark Effigies like very, very fast. So I really like Urgent Totems, even though it doesn't really offer us any damage. It is super, super good though. Next thing is Overabundance. So we can have 2 Dark Effigies. When we go over the gear section, you will see why I can have 3 Dark Effigies even, because it's going to be on the focus, but we go over that on the gear section. So we can now have 3 Dark Effigies at all times with Overabundance 2 here. Extraction is the next one. Again, just like on Chaos Bolt, it absolutely works on Dark Effigy, and it's just a 35% damage increase as extra Chaos, which is really, really good. And like I already explained, the Execute 3, which is just absolutely crazy in the low life version now. Dark Effigy just annihilates anything it touches, basically. You probably have seen in the intro videos, or have seen it on my stream, when we place 3 Dark Effigies and we despair the boss or whatever it is, it just shotguns, it just machine guns everything. Dark Effigy is insanely, insanely good. Despair we have on weapon set 2. This is one of our weapon set 2 skills with, on top of Sigil of Power here. So everything, Essence Drain, Contagion, everything is weapon set 1. And Dark Effigy is weapon set 1, and Despair is going to be weapon set 2, just like Sigil of Power here. So I will go over the skill tree in a little bit and explain why we have Despair on weapon set 2. But you can see here, we use it on weapon set 2. So if we use Despair, we are automatically on weapon set 2. But since everything else is on weapon set 1, as soon as I cast a Essence Drain or a Contagion or whatever, we automatically switch back to weapon set 1. I will explain in the passive tree why we use Despair on weapon set 2. Despair we use with Heightened Curse for more curse magnitude. We have Cursed Ground. We have Decaying Hex, Efficiency 2 for less mana cost, and again, Chaotic Freeze. It is sometimes very, very nice. It works with Decaying Hex, so sometimes we get some extra freeze. It is just a placeholder here, basically, but it is kind of nice. It makes it so that sometimes we even faster freeze anything that gets hit. With the Despair as well, with Decaying Hex, the damage is then going for the freeze magnitude or for the freeze buildup, and we mostly freeze a Pinnacle boss and then he's just dead. Next thing is going to be Withering Presence. So this is another spirit skill we have here, 30 spirit in this case, Withering Presence with Prolonged Duration 2, Clarity 1, and Chaos Mastery. Next spirit one is Convalescence with Cooldown Recovery 2 and Prolonged Duration 2. I would say the necessary spirit for this build is going to be 125, so 55 for Blasphemy, 30 for the Withering Presence, 10 for Clarity 1, and then 30 for Convalescence. That is all you need. 25 spirit is all you need. You can get 25 spirit on your amulet, you can get a spirit on your chest piece, and you can also get it in a series with a 25 spirit corruption. If you get 155 spirit, you can also add Ravenous Swarm. Ravenous Swarm poisons enemies, and that increases the damage from Dark Effigy. So Ravenous Swarm with Magnified Area 2, Prolonged Duration 2, Escalating Poison, and Poison 2. So that is another dot on the enemies, and the more dots are on enemies, the faster and the more projectiles our Dark Effigy shoots. If you don't have Ravenous Swarm, what you can do is you can put Envenom onto Dark Effigy. Also possible. But if you make it to 155 spirit by getting it on your amulet or on your chest piece, you can definitely add Ravenous Swarm for even more damage. So that is it on the skill gems. That is everything in terms of skill gems on the low life version here. The full life version is basically the same except for the execute one here, but you can see them in the mobalytics. So that is the section on the skill gems. So let's next go over gear. In terms of gear, let's start off with one of the most important factors in this build, which is the wand. The damage scaling from this build and the damage scaling for Essence Drain, Dark Effigy, and everything else comes mainly from skill levels here. So a wand with +5 chaos is gonna be very, very good for this build. We have, of course, as high spell damage as we can, high chaos damage, and also then I personally really like having gain as extra lightning. It doesn't go for Essence Drain. Anything that says gain extra damage as anything does not count for Essence Drain. So gain damage does not count towards hit damage, and it only counts towards hit damage, but not for damage over time. What it counts for, though, is for the Dark Effigy. And if you have damage as extra lightning on your wand, for example, the Dark Effigy will apply shock, which is another 20% damage increase. So I really like having gain damage as extra lightning on the wand here. It is not something you need. You can also just go for straight up more damage. In this case, it would be a hybrid modifier or whatever. That is also possible. What you can also do is gain extra as cold, for example, and then your Dark Effigy will freeze enemies. But I really like having the lightning for the shock ailment, which gives us another 20% more damage. Another damage scaler here that doesn't really go for Dark Effigy is cast speed. So cast speed is a thing in this build that is not going to increase your damage on Essence Drain because it doesn't make the dot go any faster, or it doesn't increase the damage for the dot damage on Essence Drain. What it does, though, is it makes the build feel much, much faster and much more mobile, because the more cast speed you have, the faster you just cast, obviously, but also you do not get slowed down as much. So you can see while I'm mapping and I just spam cast a Dark Effigy, or I cast the Contagion or the Essence Drain, you can see I'm barely getting slowed down at all. So that just makes the build feel much, much smoother and much more mobile if you have good amounts of cast speed here. So that is why we also prioritize cast speed a lot in this build. The next reason why we prioritize cast speed is because the cast speed scales the attack speed of our Dark Effigy. And as I already said, Dark Effigy is just a machine gun, basically, and the more cast speed we have, the more machine gun bullets the Dark Effigy is firing. So cast speed, also a very, very important thing here for this build. Like I already said, the core unique of this build is going to be the Series Disdain. For the reasons that I've already shown here, we have the damage bypass, and we also gain maximum life as extra maximum energy shield for its series. With the newly introduced exceptional ones, you can now get a overcorrupted one on the damage taken bypasses energy shield with 2 sockets, for example. Very, very nice. The runes we are using in the series here are the Talisman of Egrin. That says enemies you curse take 5% increased damage. Very, very nice for this build. So it's series, very important. Core unique of this build. Next thing is going to be the amulet. I personally am going with 58 spirit on this amulet. So like I said already as well, you need 55 in order to have this skill gem set up here. And then we want spell damage. We want maximum energy shield. We want all spells, of course. And again, we have cast speed here, and the last suffix is a given. You can get some reses here on the last suffix. I have strength for a little bit more life. It is kind of whatever. You can get some resistances. You can get whatever on the suffix. But you want all spells. You want cast speed. You want spirit. You want maximum energy shield and spell damage. That is the amulet. The anointment for our amulet is going to be supportive ancestors. Like I mentioned multiple times now, Dark Effigy, very, very important part of dealing damage in this build. So supportive ancestors gives us 25% increased damage while we have a totem, which is basically all the time. It also says spells cast by totems have 3% increased cast speed per summoned totem. That doesn't do anything for our Dark Effigy, but attacks used by totems have 3% increased attack speed per summoned totem. So we have 3 Dark Effigies. They all buff each other by 9% in terms of cast speed. So supportive ancestors, probably my favorite anointment for this build. Shout out to almost last one in my Twitch chat who made me aware of this notable Next thing is going to be the focus. We want chaos damage, we want spell damage, we want all spells again, cast speed, and then the newly introduced desecration mod of spells have +1 to maximum number of summoned totems. Having an extra totem, having an extra dark effigy is just an insane damage increase. It is the best prefix you can have on a focus here. The last suffix is, again, given at this stage. You can get energy shield recharge, you can get reses, you can get whatever you want on the suffix here. I have some lightning res. I am looking for a focus like this, but instead of the lightning res, I want faster start to energy shield recharge. Speaking of that, the rune in the focus is, again, faster start to energy shield recharge. So that is how I get my energy shield recharge delayed down to 1 second. One of the reasons is the rune in this focus here. The second and probably biggest reason is the sacramental rope as my body armor. So the sacramental rope has an implicit faster start of energy shield recharge. And now in 0.3, you can also have that as a suffix. So just this rope has 49% faster start of energy shield recharge in the implicit, and also in the suffix slot, another 44%. So you can see if I take off this sacramental rope, our energy shield recharge goes up by 0.3 seconds. So very, very nice to have sacramental rope with high energy shield, with some reses, but then you want faster start of energy shield recharge. That is the best thing you can get on the body armor. Rings are going to be reses mostly. We want chaos damage on the rings. We also want maximum life on the rings. And I'm also going with mana regeneration right here. You can see I don't choose to have cast speed on one of the rings. So this one is just giving me a lot of mana regeneration. It gives me life, gives me mana, gives me chaos damage, and it gives me auras and 2 more elemental resistances. The other ring is going to be cast speed. And then it has fire res again, it has some rarity, again, maximum life, chaos damage, and then we have the desecrated mod of increased spell damage while on full energy shield. I will probably want to reroll this to another rarity modifier here to just get some nice rarity on my ring here for mapping and whatever we do, but this is basically the rings you want on this build. So again, chaos damage, life, resistances, mana reg, cast speed, and whatever you can get in terms of the prefix slot here, maybe mana, maybe rarity. To boost up these rings, we are also using Ingenuity here. This is the Ingenuity that I'm using right now. It is very, very good for this build. You can interchange this, so I think you might even want to use Headhunter. Maybe you can use the new belt with the increased rune effect or whatever. Ingenuity, just very, very good if you have good rings. So yeah, everyone knows Ingenuity, right? So gloves, triple res, high maximum life. I really like getting maximum life on the gloves here because it is a item gear piece where you can get very, very high life, because we do need some life, even though we are going to be locked on our life on low and we have the energy shield, but we do want some life because our life is base mana rec here. So Soulless Form says regenerate mana equal to 6% of your maximum life per second. A lot of people always ask this question, why I am going mana regeneration then? Because if our mana recovers based on our maximum life, doesn't this mean mana regeneration is useless? No, it's not. The only thing Soulless Form changes is it regenerates the inherent mana rec. So it is the inherent mana rec that is based on our maximum life now instead of our maximum mana. Usually on other characters, the inherent mana rec is based on your 4% maximum mana, and with Soulless Form, the inherent mana rec is 6% of our maximum life. That means we can still get more mana rec. This build is very, very mana hungry. So in any slot you can get mana regeneration, or at any stage you can get mana regeneration. I also have it in all of my jewels, for example. And I also have this right here with recover 2% of maximum mana on kill. And I am also using the efficient casting node here for mana cost efficiency. So this build is very mana hungry. So you will need to get some mana regeneration. Speaking of mana, I also have the increased mana cost efficiency suffix on the wand here. So we do want mana, and as well, so we do want to get some life wherever we can get it. High energy shield, very important, but if you can get life on top, very, very good for this character. Last thing is going to be the boots. Of course, 35% movement speed boost. I have some chaos res here, and then it is boots with 100% increased of socketed items, paired with the Tectrod's Gaze here with 10% movement speed while on life, gives us 55% movement speed boots. The charms are going to be Nest and Hope to not get frozen. I have a stun charm right now and a golden charm. I will probably go for the Fall of the Axe at some point, and probably this is going to get changed for a rite of passage. So that is going to be it for the gear section. I hope I explained everything very thoroughly. On the second weapon set, of course, we have a chiming staff with Sigil of Power for some extra damage. Like I already said, this is going to be on the second weapon set. So we do have that on the second weapon set. I still need to do some support gems for the Sigil of Power. Those will be in the mobalytics, of course, so check out what I used in terms of support gems on the Sigil of Power, but that is what we are using here. So, speaking of weapon set 1 and weapon set 2, you can see on this passive tree we have weapon set 1 and weapon set 2 skill points. It is very, very easily explained what weapon set 1 does. It is just our standard setup for anything that is damage. So the weapon set 1 points are the pretty standard one. When we go on to weapon set 2 here, you can see what nodes are enabled here, all the green lines. That is only going to be weapon set 2. And like I already said, the only things we are using on weapon set 2 is Sigil of Power and Despair. So what are we using on weapon set 2 here? We are using increased curse duration and increased curse magnitudes for Despair. We are also using more increased curse magnitudes right here and increased duration of ailments you inflict against cursed enemies. And also, again, faster curse activation. And your curses have 20% increased effect if 50% curse duration expired. And we also have another increased curse duration. Enemies cursed by you have 50% reduced life regeneration rate, and they cannot recover energy shield. So the second weapon set points are basically only for Despair. It makes Despair very, very strong. You can see right here, if we have it on weapon set 1, the cast time is a little bit lower. We have a curse radius of 5.6 meters. We have a curse duration of 11 seconds. And we have a chaos resistance removed of 102. And on weapon set 2, you can see it is 108. We have a chaos damage per second of 188. We have a curse duration. We have a better curse radius. It is just going to be better on weapon set 2 here with the increased curse magnitudes and everything. Despair is just very, very good on weapon set 2 here. This is the main reason why we use weapon set 2 points on this passive tree. Other than that, on the passive tree, of course, our ascendancy points are going to be Crystalline Phylactery here. We have Eternal Life and Soulless Form, and also, of course, Eldritch Empowerment. The jewel I am using in Crystalline Phylactery is basically the jewel I'm using everywhere. So you want in the prefix, you want spell damage, you want maximum energy shield. That is always what you want in the prefix slot on any jewel. You want cast speed and mana rec in the suffix slot. That is every single jewel that I have, except for this one, which also gives us recover mana on kill, which solves a lot of the mana problems we have while mapping. So every jewel is the same. What else is there to say about this passive tree? This is, of course, for the low life version. So we are using Final Barrage and the quick response one. We are also using the ancestral nodes here, the totem nodes for our Dark Effigy. So we get some extra totem life and totem duration and some extra attack and cast speed if we summoned a totem recently. Other than that, all the nodes on the passive tree are just what we need. This is basically perfect for level 96. This is, in my opinion, the absolute min-max version of the passive tree right here. So we are going into mostly the chaos nodes right here. And also we have some nodes that give us good energy shield recharge and everything. So yeah, if anything changes about the passive tree in the future, if I find some more tech or whatever, it is always, of course, going to be updated in the mobalytics. One other question I get a lot in my stream is, how do we even apply two curses? We have Despair and the Temporal Chains one. A lot of people forget about this node. Always take this node, Whispers of Doom, so we can have applied two curses. That is the passive tree. And that is going to be the conclusion of the passive tree section of this video. So if you have any questions again about the passive tree, or have any tips, or if you have discovered some tech about the passive tree for this build, let me know in my Twitch stream and we will update the mobalytics. One more thing we need to show in this video is how do we lock ourselves on low life. So you can see right here, when we have energy shield with the eternal life notable of the Lich Ascendancy, we cannot change our life as long as we have energy shield. So even if I click the well or whatever, or I click my or life flask or whatever, our life cannot change. How do we lock our life in low here? The method that I'm using, it is not the most optimal one, but I've been doing it like this forever, so I don't want to change it. The method that I am using is I am using the Visage of Ayaya here. And then we also need to refund the enhanced barrier notable. So now we do not have any more life. We do not have any more energy shield. So now we are full life here. And how do we go low life now? We put life tap on any of our skills. I will just use it on Dark Effigy here. And now we need to get below 35% of our maximum life. So I have 1,978 life. This is going to be around 650 to be low life. So we go down, we press Dark Effigy, we press it one more time. Now we're at 359. What you can do then, for example, is get a ring here that regenerates your life or whatever to find like the right space here. And I'm just gonna let it go up a little bit. Let's just go to 400 or whatever. And then I will just put back my Series Disdain here to get our energy shield back and to lock our life at the number that we have taken here. So we just gonna get it up to 400, and now we put on our series, and now we have energy shield again. We put our old ring back, we put our usual notable for our support gem for Dark Effigy back, so life tap is gone now, and now our life is locked at low. We now have to put back the enhanced barrier notable. That is method number 2 that you can use for the low life trick. Another method is the Mask of the Stitch Demon. It means we cannot have energy shield and we regenerate life. So if we put this on, we don't have energy shield, but our life recovers very, very fast. So what you can do then is you go onto life tap here on Dark Effigy again. We get our life as low as possible here. And then we put back a series. You can see why I don't like this method, because you have to be pretty fast and I'm not fast at all. And now, yeah, this is again, okay, we do it again. And yeah, there we go. This is method number 2. This is also what you can do. Apparently there's another method you can do with like a chaos inoculation or whatever, but this is the general method of how to do the low life trick. Another question I get a lot on my stream is, what is the basic rotation of skills for this build? This is a very simplistic build, so I really can explain this very, very fast. While we are in maps and while we are clearing, the basic rotation is just going to be like, imagine Zolan here is an enemy. We just go Contagion into Essence Drain. That is basically it. Contagion, Essence Drain, Contagion, Essence Drain. This will make it so that Contagion spreads onto the enemies, and anything that is a debuff, for example, the dot of Essence Drain in this case, is going to be spread by the Contagion. I always go Contagion first, into Essence Drain, Contagion, into Essence Drain. What we add, of course, is the Dark Effigies, especially when you are not as high damage or whatever, especially when rares show up in a map or whatever. We just place down the Dark Effigies and then we place the Despair as well. That is the basic rotation for mapping. It is super, super easy. It is ED and Contagion into Dark Effigies and Despair. For bosses, it is very, very important that you always keep up your Dark Effigies and your Despair on the ground. And then you also want to keep up your Essence Drain on the boss, of course, and you also want to apply Contagion, because Contagion has Chaotic Freeze and we increase the chance of actually freezing the boss. Another very, very important thing for a single target is that you weave in your Chaos Bolts to increase the Withered on the boss. Withered is a debuff that removes Chaos resistance. It is very, very important for this build. So the basic rotation, just to explain it again, for bosses is we pre-place our Dark Effigies, we pre-place our Despair on the ground, so the boss is cursed, and then we curse the boss, or we dot the boss with our Essence Drain. We quickly apply a Contagion as well, and then we go for Chaos Bolt shots to keep up the Withered stacks, and then the next rotation is gonna come in. We replace our Dark Effigies again, we curse the boss again with Despair on the ground, and then we curse again with Despair, and then we just go again, Dark Effigy, Contagion, and then we weave in some Chaos Bolts again. That is the basic rotation for this build. It is very, very simplistic. You will get used to it very, very fast. It is super, super amazing. The change to the Chaos Bolt applying Withered stacks now is absolutely insane. It is so good on this build. You have seen it in the beginning of this video, how good it actually is. Okay, that is going to conclude this video as well. Please check out the Mobalytics. Read everything in the Mobalytics. If you still have any questions about the build, my stream is always the best address for that. If you have any tips, if you discovered anything that I haven't seen here, if we need to change anything about the Mobalytics build, come into my stream where I stream this build and I play PoE 2 every single day. I'm always happy to theory craft about builds or answer any questions you might have. If you would be so nice as well to favorite the build on Mobalytics, drop a subscribe on this channel. Helps me very, very much. Even like commenting, whatever. If you like the build, that would be super, super awesome. This build has been incredible for me this league. I couldn't imagine how this would be turning out. It is just absolutely insane. I didn't even expect to still be on the build. I wanted to use it as a league starter, but I will probably take this to the absolute maximum min-max now. And we will see how far this can go. So I will leave you to it then. I hope you all have a lot of fun with this build in the current league, which is, in my opinion, the best stage PoE 2 has ever been in. I am having a blast and I hope you all have as well. And hopefully we see you on my stream at some point, which I will probably be live right now. So go check out the stream right now. I'm probably live right now. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you for checking out the guide and whatever. Love you. Goodbye.